Hey guys, and welcome back to the Tap and Go podcast, where we talk all things rugby with players, coaches and pundits from across the world. Today, we are very lucky to have a World Cup winner, the brains behind the 2003 England squad, and true rugby legend, Sir Clive Woodward. So Clive, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Matt, and good morning or good afternoon, everybody. And it's a real pleasure to be with you. And I've always got great fond kind of memories of Eton School. I've been there many times as a kind of coach, and also done quite a bit of work there. So it's very nice to be part of your podcast this morning.
Of course.
Yeah, so thank you very much for joining us. So I think we could start off with just how have you found quarantine? How have you, people are interested to see how you've been keeping busy?
Yeah, it is what it is. I think it sounds a bit strange, but you've got to try and make the most of it. I mean, the big thing to me was, and we're still in quarantine. I'm still working from home, but I'm involved in quite a few businesses which we've been able to kind of keep going. And these Zoom calls have been kind of pretty impressive, to be honest. And I think before this, Freddie, the conference calls are I always envisaged conference calls in pretty flash boardrooms, and you were sort of conferencing people in New York and Mumbai and all this stuff. But I think this has been the big learning, where you're able to do things like this. I've had loads of meeting every day with people around the world on Zoom calls. So this has helped hugely. I think this will be this won't go away. I think the old-fashioned phone call when you're doing business and talking to people is kind of history now. So there's been a lot of good learning. So, and to answer your question, just a case of every day, kind of planning your day, your time management through days. You just don't drift in.
Yep.
Trying to keep fit. I was delighted when the golf course is open, but also just try and keep busy and just planning your day properly and trying to stay reasonably fit as well, which was the big ask. But once I've enjoyed it, but I've also kind of looked back at it and said, well, I didn't waste that couple of months where I've just sat at home. So I've had to do quite a bit of work as well, which was good.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll focus more on rugby now. So one thing which obviously COVID has resulted in is there's going to have to be some changes made to the rugby calendar and more like how rugby is going to be played, because obviously we've missed a lot firstly. So what are your thoughts on, so there's talk of trying to align the Southern Hemisphere and the Northern Hemisphere into one big rugby calendar?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of talk. I think it's, again, I've been using in all my business talk and sports terms, where reset. I think reset's a great word at the moment, where everyone's got to just sort of sit back, see what's happening, and the game has got to reset. I think rugby is obviously in a very strong position. If you watch, the World Cup and the Six Nations, it's still a great game which we all love. But I do think it's kind of this pandemic has kind of highlighted a few real kind of weaknesses of the game as well. And I think we've always spoken about the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere being aligned. And they're not, and they would be a far better game if they were. Think of football. The whole football world, soccer world seems to run really well. It's well governed. There's no northern southern hemisphere, where rugby's just been stuck by this. So I generally believe, I hope, Bill Beaumont's now the chairman for 4 more years. I really hope under his chairmanship these next 4 years they can align the calendar, and we have this one global game. Will help hugely, because at the moment, it's not benefiting the whole game. So I think there should be an aligned season, North and South, which all play at the same time, and it can be done. It's just politically never happened because everyone's looked after their own patches. Where I think now everyone's got to take a broader view and really try and align the world game, and I think that can happen now, because I think this has pushed everyone into a corner, and I think there's a big chance it will happen.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess sort of on this topic of rugby and just going back, so when you first started with the England rugby, being the head coach, it was still, 1995 was when rugby became professional, but it was still sort of almost had that flavour of sort of amateur, and it wasn't quite sort of that elite professional sort of setup that it became by the end of 2003. What was sort of the, how do you make sure that the England rugby sort of became effective and efficient when you first came in? Sort of what changes did you make?
I was kind of, I've always regarded myself as really lucky. I was, I played for England, played for the Lions, but in the kind of the amateur days. And I've got to stress to all your listeners, it really was amateur. It's like you and me playing golf, Matt, where we're amateurs. We did it for fun. There was no money involved. And we all had our careers, business careers. I play for England, but I'm playing with teachers, scaffolders, brickies. You know, everyone's got a full-time job. We played for England in front of 75,000 people. Then, a bit like we just talked about now, a big seismic change. The game went from amateur to professional, and it really was. I don't know how old you guys would have been in '95, but 96 when it happened. But
not born.
Not even born then. Not even born. So it just went from an amateur game to a professional game literally overnight. And we're all caught pretty cold by it, because certainly in England we weren't expecting it to happen. But the game suddenly went from amateur to professional. No one kind of understood what it meant. But for whatever reason, I got the first full-time professional coaching job. So I was running my own businesses. I was obviously coaching at the time, but coaching at an amateur level. And it was a seismic change, make no bones about that. It's suddenly, and I'd always said England were the great amateurs. We were more amateur than anybody else. We just absolutely did it for fun, and that reflected on the field of play. We weren't that good, But suddenly the game goes professional. You look at England as a rugby country. We've got more players, we've got more money, more wealth. My view was very, very straightforward. Wow, whilst we're the great amateurs, we're now going to be the great professionals. We're going to be more professional than anybody else in the world. We're going to have no excuses anymore for taking on New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, which we can never beat before. And so I was dead lucky. I was the first person in, and I had every chance. I was literally on my own. I was the only person. I was the first full-time coach. So I started to build my team of people. Like any business, it takes some time. It's like a new start company. But you just start to and then you start to get the players. And I think that also what I was lucky, because I played for England, I could eyeball players. If it's really eyeball even these tough nut players and say, you've got a chance of a lifetime now. You're full time. You've got an opportunity I never had, because I couldn't do this full time. I'd have loved to be a professional rugby player in that short period of your life. And my job is to make sure they really understand this will go very quickly. When you play for England, you tend to go on forever. It doesn't. It's a very small part of your life. And let's not waste it. So we really started to become, as I said, really professional in everything we did. I started to hire some amazing coaches, put a shoe stall on fitness. We were never ever fit or strong enough or powerful enough. It took time. So I came in '97. I was happy with the first few years. We had a World Cup in '99. We got beat in the quarterfinals. Everyone's trying to fire you and sack you because you've just lost in the quarterfinals. But we were kind of still building. Then between '99 and 2003, they were just probably the best 4 years ever of English rugby. We just, everything we put in place started to come to fruition. And, by whatever reasons, we arrived at 2003 as the favourites to win. We're the #1 ranked team in the world and favourites to win. Because we just put in behind the scenes all the professionalism. The players were brilliant. And the biggest thing was just taking on board, this is a real small chance. Unless you're absolutely dedicated, and if anything gets in your way or distracts you, you're not going to be in the team. And people like Lawrence Deladio, Martin Johnson, Johnny Wilkinson, Jason Robinson, I can name all of them. They were just fantastic. I saw what they did on the pitch, but I also saw what they did outside the pitch. I saw their bodies change, their fitness change, their whole mentality changed. And and it can happen. It's just building any business. You need people, and you need strong people. But you need people with a real passion of what they're doing, with no kind of bullshit, no kind of no if onlys. Just throw it at the kitchen sink at something, and that's what we did. And I was very fortunate that I was the person who was kind of headed the whole thing up. But you need great players with the right mindset to actually follow this whole thing through.
So 2003 was obviously an incredible year, not just the World Cup, but you won the Grand Slam Six Nations, and you also beat New Zealand for the first time since 1973. But going to New Zealand for the World Cup, do you not find that was quite a big risk? Obviously you won, and so what impact did that then have on the squad?
Yeah, it was a kind of a risk. It's everything's about risk. Walking outdoors is a risk. It was only a risk because we got some people injured. I kind of thought it through, but it wasn't just New Zealand. We went to play a test match in New Zealand, and we went to play a test match in Australia. Australia, the team, we ended up playing in the final a few months later. So we went down to New Zealand. We played a test match. We played the Maoris. It's just, if you think about it, we got a World Cup starting in September. We went to New Zealand, Australia in June. And I decided we're going to go full on. We're going to absolutely, we're the #1 ranked team in the world. We haven't beaten New Zealand down there since whenever you said, fairly long time ago. We never won in Australia. England had never won a game in Australia. When you think of it, it's ridiculous. We've never beaten Australia ever in Australia. And I went full on, and we went down there and we won. We went to New Zealand and beat New Zealand in Wellington. And you look back now, that's one of probably the highlights of my whole coaching career, to actually go to New Zealand and win. Not many coaches can actually say they've ever done that. In fact, I can't even think of many at all. To actually go to New Zealand and win a test match a few months before, and it just sent shockwaves to New Zealand. It was hilarious to be there. You think the country just sank. I mean, they were absolutely shocked, not just by losing, but by the quality of our team, because they saw it firsthand. They saw it against the Maoris. They saw it in the test match. So you beat New Zealand, and then you fly over to Sydney, and I'm playing against Eddie Jones's team, who are kind of, had a lot to say for themselves at the time. So that was all good fun as well. So we beat Australia even more than we beat New Zealand, And I generally believe it. We got no injuries. We came through it strong. Everyone absolutely agreed this was the right thing to do then, because we got away with it. But I was confident. Even if we got an injury, I guess if we'd lost Martin Johnson or Johnny Wilkinson, that would have been a big setback. But everyone wanted to go, and I think that set the World Cup up. By going there and proving we could beat those two teams, that meant we arrived as number one ranked team in the world, favourites to win the World Cup. And I just think favourites tend to win. So, was it a risk? I said from the outside, yes. From my point of view, no. If your goal was to win the World Cup, and that's what it was the absolute perfect. I'd rather found out any glitches, any weaknesses we had going to their place than actually sitting at home thinking pretty good about ourselves and not actually having the kind of bottle to test ourselves. So, it's one of my best kind of ever memories. Winning in New Zealand is a precious man. That's the biggest compliment I could play New Zealand. I love the New Zealand rugby. I love what they stand for, their culture, everything. I love everything about New Zealand rugby. That's why to go and win there is massive, because it's just huge respect. And I paid them the ultimate respect by taking my full team there. And I wanted to do that. And I thought that's what won the World Cup in the end, I think.
Would you say that's sort of one of the biggest differences that sort of made your 2003 campaign a success and your 1999 campaign less so? Because before the World Cup in 1999, you played, was it America and Canada?
Yeah, possibly, but no. In 99, we just weren't ready, Matt.
Okay.
It's just, as simple as that. I mean, the game went professional in 97. We were so far behind the Southern Hemisphere, just in terms of our mindset, our physique, our fitness. You can't catch it up that quick. And it wasn't even 2 years. It's probably about, I was putting the job about 16, 17 months, about a year and a half. And then you're playing New Zealand. We were way behind. There's no way we could have won the World Cup in 99. It was just impossible to do. We weren't as good as the teams. But what we did realise after the 90, we have the players. There's no doubt we got the players. We always have had, by the way. England have got more players than anybody else. We've always had the players to beat anyone in the world. We always will have, because we've got more numbers. But we were just so far behind in the way we played the game, the way we actually played, the pace we played at, the fitness. And to me, it was just so exciting because, as long as I wasn't going to get fired, which few people wanted me fired in 99. So you get through all that sort of nonsense. As long as you got fit enough and you got all the players with you, and the players were so excited. We're obviously disappointed to lose in 99, the quarterfinals, but everyone just said, okay, fine. We know what we've got to do now. We've got 4 years. And we did it. I mean, I think that 4 years between 99 and 2003, we played something like 50 games of rugby, 50 test matches, and won 46. I mean, the win-loss ratio was just astonishing. We beat the Southern Hemisphere 14 times in a row, home and away. We didn't lose to the Southern Hemisphere team between those World Cups. So when the time we arrived at the World Cup, including the games we just spoke about, you're just in a great shape. And I've often said to myself, if we'd not won in 2003, I'm not sure how I would have turned out. I don't think I'd have been a very nice person, because to actually do all that work, to arrive at favourites to win and then not win, and then we just won by a hair's breadth with one drop goal was quite scary, really. But we did win, and that's what it's all about.
You talked there about you were betting favourites, world number ones. Did this have any effect on the squad? Did it create any complacency, or did the players?
No, I think the opposite. I just, as I said before, Freddie, I think favourites. I think when you favourites, the pressure mounts. I think in professional sport, including rugby, your pressure's good. Meaning, the bigger the game, the more pressure you're under. When you're lucky enough to know Martin Johnson, Wilkinson, they love pressure. They don't want to play in a game they're going to win by 40, 50 points. They want to win a game They want to play in a game. It's 50-50. A lot of people saying they're going to lose. They want the pressure. That's why you do it. So to arrive at the World Cup as favourites, the pressure was enormous, and I built that up. I made no bones about it. I built the pressure up. I said, someone's got to beat us. We're number one team. Someone's got to beat this team. And I was doing it for a reason. I wasn't doing it by trying to be a smart ass or trying to say clever things. I was just doing it because I just knew these players. The more pressure you put them under, the better they played. My worry was when you played, a team we were supposed to be and we weren't quite there mentally. That's when my worry set in. The top players love World Cup finals. They love Olympic Games. They love that moment in time where you go test yourselves. So we built it up. So I made no bones about it. I went on the front foot and said, someone's got to beat us. We're number one team in the world. Someone's got to beat us to win the World Cup. And no one did.
Yeah. So in the World Cup, so the quarterfinals, you played Wales, and I guess it didn't go as smoothly as all your other games. What sort of impact did that have on the team? Was there any doubt, or was there just after that match you just put it behind and moved on?
No, as I said before, that was the worry. I mean, we were red hot favourites to beat Wales, but they were a really good team. They were coached by Steve Hansen, who's the All Blacks, who went on to coach the All Blacks. Great guy, great coach. Wales are a really good team, but we hadn't lost for Wales for a few years, and we played them in a friendly in August. And put 50 points on them with our second team, and is that week. One of my favourite ever games was going to New Zealand and winning. One of my worst ever games was that Wales quarter-final, because all week you just knew we weren't there, because everyone thought it was a foregone conclusion, and it can happen, and that is a nightmare for a coach, because no matter what you say, what you do, you just knew we weren't. There was no fear factor. Everyone thought it was going to win, including the players, and it was just awful. And that first half against Wales, they absolutely smashed us. We've gone in losing whatever it was. I think we're 10-3 down at half time or something. And that half time was my biggest ever half time in terms of, chucking teacups around and saying the right things, because, we're going home. We're going home to be ridiculed. Our life will never be the same again. If we'd lost to Wales, in the quarterfinals of the World Cup, when favourites to win it, I'd say, well, put it this way, I won't be chatting to you two guys this afternoon here. So your whole life changes at one moment in time. And we get through it, but that's, again, as a champion team. We were under massive pressure then, Matt, in that second half, and we played really well in the second half, and we ended up winning the game reasonably well. But, what happens in World Cups, there's always going to be that one couple of games. We played Samoa. We played Western Samoa, and we could have lost that game because, again, they were really good. Pat Lam, there was all these great players in their team, and suddenly it's a World Cup and it's still 15 against 15, and that was almost an upset. So to be honest, throughout that World Cup, we played okay. The best game in the World Cup was semi-final. We played France in semi-final, and we smashed them. We absolutely obliterated France in semi. That was our best game in terms of, if you're marking it from the technical point of view and how we won the game, and that was because we had that big scare against Wales in the quarterfinals. We're now playing France. France had obliterated Ireland in their quarterfinal. Everyone thought France would win this game. So suddenly everyone's building up France and Gautier and all these guys in their team and all these, and we were just brilliant that game. That was the best. And I didn't need to even speak that week. Everyone was just so focused because we knew we had a better team than France, and that was our best game.
Yeah. So going into the final, going to any World Cup match, did you plan for extra time? Did you anticipate it? Had you done some form of training to create some sort of system where you knew you'd do this if it went this far?
Yeah, we spoke about it. We spoke every all those knockout games go to extra time. I'd played loads of times for England and the Lions, but I'd never ever played or coached a team in extra time ever. In '99 World Cup, nothing went to extra time, so we didn't make the quarterfinals. Semi-finals can go to this, but yeah, we spoke about it for sure. And also, as a coach, you got to prepare kind of mentally for this. We got to kind of what all this kind of what if scenarios. So yeah, I had it written down, everything kind of what if, and especially when you're making substitutes in terms of this sort of stuff. And what I'm most proud about in that final, it's interesting today when you watch rugby, when all the benches get unloaded, everybody's on the pitch. We went to a World Cup, played 30 minutes extra time. When the final whistle went, we still had 4 players on the bench. So it was me having to not panic and thinking, well, it's extra time, we need fresh legs on, all this stuff. We didn't need fresh legs on. The team was so fit. And if anyone was injured, yeah, obviously coming off. Anyone was playing badly, they're coming off. But we only put 3 subs on out of 7, you know, on the left 4 on the bench. So I could have, you know, I remember, you know, people talking to me during that period saying, get him on. You know, these are my other kind of coaches think about putting him on. And on replays, I didn't. You know, I'm looking back now, I've analysed my own performance during that game, especially the extra time. Did we make the right subs? Absolutely. Didn't panic under the pressure to put fresh legs on, because we weren't tired. It wasn't a tiring game. We were the fittest team in the you know, and if that's your best starting number 9, if Matt Dawson gets picked at 9 to start for England, why are you going to take him off? You know, when you get extra time. And I see so many teams today, and it frustrates the hell out of me, to be honest. And I don't know if it happens in your teams, but you know, the coaches just putting the bench on just to almost give them a game. There's no reason to put them on. I think it's a real negative of rugby at the moment, where, you know, even international level, you know, you can see it with 20 minutes go, the props go off, and everyone, you know, and I think it's ruining the game in many respects. And I think if you're on the bench, you're on the bench. Simple as that. You shouldn't expect to come on or be told you're definitely going to come on. So I don't agree with, I think it's Eddie Jones scoring this phrase, you know, starters and finishers. I really don't like that. You know, I want to be a starter, and you name me somebody who wants to be on the bench, I'll name that person a loser. You know, if you want to be on the bench, you're not a winner. You know, no one should want to be on the bench in rugby. You want to be starting a game 1 to 15 and staying on the field. And almost you see players coming off the field almost seem happy they're coming off. And to me, I'd be going nuts if I was taken off the pitch as a rugby player from a coach.
Yeah.
So obviously, you weren't just a coach of England, but you then went on to the Lions. What would you say was like? Did you have to change your coaching, the way you coached for each side?
Yeah, listen, the Lions. I mean, I played for the Lions. I went on 2 Lions tours as a player in South Africa in 1980 and New Zealand in '83. So I kind of loved the Lions, but you know, it was probably a mistake. I was asked to coach the Lions. I didn't apply for the job. I really trying to struggle with the Lions, to be honest, because I've always, you know, my big thing was coaching England. I didn't see the Lions as a step up to me, and I was asked to coach the Lions because we won the World Cup. So I did it. I did my best at it. But looking back now, the way I do things, the way I kind of build teams, it's a very different skill set needed. You know, I've got massive respect for Gatland, especially, and Ian McGeechan. These because it's a very challenging thing. And, you know, I'm kind of very English, and, you know, you spend all the years trying to knock the heads off these guys, and suddenly you're trying to coach them, you know, in your team, they're all part of your team. So I kind of enjoyed it in a perverse way, but we went down there, we got beat, and we got beat by a really top New Zealand team in 2005. You know, Carter was just coming in the team, you know, all these amazing players. They're a great team. And we had a team that just wasn't good enough. Would I have done much differently? No. But it's, you know, it's kind of an 8-week challenge. It's a totally different, you know, building a team takes time, and suddenly you're given this challenge with this huge kind of pressure on you to actually take on the number 1 team in the world in New Zealand. And I didn't struggle with it. I just didn't enjoy it. Meaning, I kind of enjoyed the experience of doing it, but I didn't enjoy it thinking, wow, that was an amazing experience. I just kind of thought, yeah, this is, all the odds were stacked against us here. And, you know, you can still win, which has been proven, but it was a tough time in many ways. But, you know, that's life.
Well, how did you sort of in training sort of merge all the players so that they didn't have any sort of conflict, well, not directly, but sort of friction between the countries, 4 countries?
Yeah, you just kind of, I never had that. I mean, I think everyone comes in knowing it's different. You know, these players are all glad to get picked for the Lions. It's a huge honour for them. And we had off the pitch play, though, unless you can tell me differently, off the pitch play was fine. We had no issues with anybody. But, you know, selection's really tough. You know, just imagine I'm coaching England. We just won a World Cup. I've been to New Zealand and won. So there's nothing about going to New Zealand worried me. I'd been to taking the team to New Zealand. I was the one coach who'd actually done that. So nothing worried me about it. It was just, you know, injuries came in. The first test, O'Driscoll lasted 30 seconds. Your captain gets dumped on his head, gets his shoulder dislocated. You know, so just everything just didn't go our way. And you can make as many excuses as you want. I've got an armful of excuses. At the end of the day, we got beat by a better team. And I don't think, to be totally honest, could I have done anything differently? No. I don't think I've done anything that much differently. You know, and you kind of can live with it because, you know, I threw the kitchen sink at it, and maybe if I'm being really critical of myself, I probably did too much. I kind of tried to get everything I did with England over some 5 or 6 year period into around 8 weeks. And if players didn't know me, understand me, which obviously the Welsh, Irish, and Scots players didn't know, that I think they struggled with it a bit. And then Martin Johnson's retired, Johnny was injured, Lawrence is injured. All English players aren't in the actual team. So when you take the Lions job on, which I did in 2004, like us all, I've got my team written down. I've got my English players who are automatic. Johnson, Delalio, Wilkinson. Then I've added in Paul O'Connell and O'Driscoll and probably Gavin Henson from Wales. And you go, wow, that's the team can win in New Zealand. So I went there going, we can beat in New Zealand. Of course, then when I write my first team out 2-3 years later, it's nothing like that team. Everything hadn't changed. And I often say to coaches, it's amazing how good a coach you become when you've got a full strength team. And it's in 2003, when we played that World Cup final, I've got my absolute full strength team. Not a single player is not there through injury or anything. So you get a bit of luck, but I think you get luck because you train properly, you don't get injuries. And then when I've announced my side to play against New Zealand in 2005, it was nothing like what I was envisaging the team would be. And you need that. We didn't have that, so you can talk about that. But I threw my kitchen sink at it. It just didn't happen, and we got beaten. Yeah. But also the history of the Lions. I think before so certainly in 2005, we'd been there 11 times and lost 10. So I wasn't exactly changing the kind of not exactly the way around. It wasn't a big upset. So we went there and got beat. But it's one of those things.
So obviously Eddie Jones' side this year almost went as far as you guys in 2003. Where do you think that they really failed? Where did they in the final? What went wrong, in your opinion?
I think I was there. Obviously, I was there working for the TV. I was there with ITV. It was really, and it's still not really been explained. And that's why my one criticism of Eddie in the RFU, they've not really sat down and tried to explain what happened. Because the semi-final game against New Zealand was, and I can say this categorically, probably the best I've ever seen an England team play. I mean, that was a strong New Zealand team who were favourites to win that game. And being in, and as I tried to say to you before, it's interesting because, New Zealand were favourites to win in that England team, which is a really good England team, make no bones about it. That team, in terms of the talent from, Marrow, Farrell, these guys. I mean, it was an amazing team, and they were full strength. There was no injuries. Everyone was there, but you just felt good that week because having experienced this, you just felt this England are going to play well this weekend because there's a real fear factor. This was and you get a team of players who've been kind of not written off, but sort of said, New Zealand are going to win this by 20 points. And that's England will win this because we've got a good team here, and it was just fantastic. And to watch them play was just brilliant. I mean, when it was, I won't put it up as good as the 2003 stuff, but it was close, and it was great to be there, great to be English, and it was just amazing. And you thought everything was, and all week you feel this edge. Then what happens the next week? Just a complete reverse, and you just felt, and South Africa played awful in their semi-final against Wales and scraped through. And Wales could have won that game. So South Africa made the final, and England have just blitzed this New Zealand team, which doesn't really happen ever in anyone's lifetime. Everyone's saying it's the best ever performance of any English team in any sport. And so suddenly, then that last week, I'm in Japan, I can just feel this. Everyone's going around, it's 20 points, 30 points. And you can just feel, and this, I've got no doubt, somehow got into the heads of the England team and the coach. They got into there. And it's a bit like what I explained before, our game against Wales in the quarterfinals in 2003. Once that's in your heads, that is not a good place to be. And I just saw some stuff all through the week, and I'm going and I'm writing in the Daily Mail, in where I do a column for. I'm just saying to everyone, guys, for goodness sake, everyone just smell the coffee here. This will be a close game. On the morning of the game, I said, hang on to your seats, guys. This will go to the wire. This will go to the wire. And I was actually proved not even right because it didn't even go to the wire. We got smashed. When you're watching the game. And that's the most disappointing thing. If we'd lost 29-30 in a brilliant final and they dropped a goal in extra time and all this sort of stuff, I'd have gone, great, that can happen. But to go and not fire a shot in the World Cup final when you're red hot favourites to win, that's still not been explained. I can't explain it because I'm not close enough to it. You could just see somehow. My personal view, there's a lot of distractions came into that team that week, and they allowed themselves to be distracted, and that can happen so closely. You know, I had this great job with the Team GB with the Olympics, and you know, my experience was just to say the same thing. You know, if you're an athlete in the Olympics, just to try and understand this, you know, and you're a successful athlete and you make an Olympic final, the distractions are huge from the media, from parents, from friends. Everyone's suddenly your best friend. Everyone wants to get close to you. Everyone's trying to. If you get distracted and the people you're competing with do not get distracted, you can get beat. This is what happens. This is why favourites lose. And it happened to England. It's never been explained. And I was in the commentary studio with Brian Habana and Johnny Wilkinson. And after 10 minutes, we started off, and I can see now Billy in a pole has passed the ball behind. Farrell, the ball's gone down. We started so badly. And after 10 minutes, I've said to Brian Habana, I'm pleased what I've written in the paper, because I've said, this is not going to be a 20-point game. This is going to be close. And all I know, all week's time, I think that there's so much confidence, and there's so much stuff in the papers. In Japan, it was reported that England had already organised a victory parade in Trafalgar Square for the Tuesday after the World Cup. And if you know these South African players, you know that would have been on the team room wall, massive, about Wednesday, and you South Africans just see them, these massive big lumps in South Africa, just sharpening their studs, going, okay, let's wait till Saturday. And you heard nothing from the South Africans all week. They were like, people even don't interview them. And it was all about England and how much they're going to win. And it was just awful to see. And because, you know, I just know if we'd lost in 2003 and not fired a shot, I just couldn't have, I don't know what I'd have done, because I don't know what I'd done. It'd just been the most awful thing. So, you know, that's going to take some recovering from those guys, because they know they should have won the World Cup final. And they didn't. It's never been really explained, because no one really knows what happened behind the scenes, because there's been no kind of proper inquiry into it.
I suppose the one good thing is it's a very young English team, so they've got 2023 to almost try.
No, you're right. You can always, you know, it's a good point. The answer is yes. A lot of that team will be there. I just hope they're hurting. But it's a long time to wait, 4 years. But be very, very clear. I'm involved. I do a lot of stuff in France now. I'm part of a ski academy in the south of France. There's going to be one special French team coming out in 4 years' time as well. I've seen the quality of their players. They're playing at home. You know, France have this big France. I love French rugby, as you probably tell. I love French rugby. France got a great team. They've got their coaching sorted out. They're also hurting from Japan. They're playing at home. You know, I went to see them win World Cup finals in football in France. France are a good rugby nation. So you add France playing at home, and then they just beat England in the Six Nations in Paris. And the French will have no fear of England. That's the other thing. There'll be no fear factor of England coming from France. So they're going to be, to me, probably the favourites for the World Cup. Then South Africa are going to be there. Their team was pretty young as well. They won the World Cup. So they're going to get better and better. So they're going to be strong. So you can say England are going to be strong. Yeah, we're going to be a team. But, you know, that was their chance. You don't get many chances in life where, for whatever reason, you know, they make the World Cup final. They're red hot favourites. You don't win it. That's going to take some getting over. And also the selection of the team. With England got so many good players, and they really have got a lot of really good players.
Definitely.
So England, of course, they're going to be right there in 2000 and whatever it is, in 4 years' time, 3 years' time, whatever it is now. But make no bones about it, other teams will be there as well, led by France. And they've got a really good team. They really have got, and they'll be 4 years older than they were now.
Okay. So there's a current trend at the moment where we see that the balance between attack in rugby and defense in rugby, I'd say sort of the defense is overpowered, and it's becoming increasingly difficult for the teams to the attacking teams to penetrate the lines of the defense. And I read an article recently saying that sort of the lines and sort of the tactics that he employed in the 2003 World Cup is what we'll probably see in the future for these attacking teams. How do you see sort of the future of attacking rugby go?
Yeah, it's a good question, Matt. I mean, pretty passionate about this subject, to be honest, because I've been using example. If I was going to coach you guys at Eton School, I promise you, the number one thing I'd say to you is, say, right, guys, we're going to play the game faster than anybody else has ever seen. We're going to play faster than you've ever played the game before. When I say faster, it doesn't mean like running around like headless chickens. It's just the speed you play the game at. The 2003 side, and I had an interesting conversation with Maro Itoje the other day, which he looked at me like I was from another planet. I said, you know, we play the game, the 2003 team play the game so much quicker than you guys play today. He looked at me. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, quite simply, let me just go through one scenario. This lovely thing called box kick. You watch the 2003 team play, we never box kicked, ever. Because what happens today is, and just kind of, I can just see it now, you kind of win the ball, you go to a ruck, teams slow their own ball down. You know, the scrum half will go there, put his foot on the ball, stop the game, put people in position, set up a pod to take the ball up. But usually them just kick the ball up in the air. Why do you want to kick the ball up in the air, give the ball 30 yards away? The opposition get it, they do the same thing, they kick it back in the box kick. And everyone just plays so slowly. So when I say play quick, I mean when I say quick, for example, when you get to a ruck, you know, the first person there just moves the ball. You don't slow the ball down, you just play quick. And if you play quickly, the defenses can't organise quick enough, and you play quickly over 80 minutes, you're fit enough to play this way, you're going to win the game. So the speed of the ball from ruck is absolutely key. And forget all this box kicking nonsense, because I just don't get it. I just don't get it at all. If you're going to kick the ball, just smash it miles downfield, downtown, and put a chase on. I don't see it, and then you actually got some time to get yourself sorted out. We want to play quickly. We want to play quickly from scrums. You know, scrums to me are to restart the game. You know, we had a fantastic scrum, but our front row, you know, Woodman, Vickery, Thompson, they could all play in the back row. They were quick players. They can pass the ball. So we selected a team from 1 to 15 to play really quickly. So the ball from the scrum goes in, out, away, it's gone. The ball from the line out, the same thing. The ball goes in, we win the ball, bang, it's gone. We don't hang around. We just speed the whole game up. 22 dropouts, everything's done quickly. So, you know, people talk about lines of running and all offloads, all this stuff. Great. That's just a bonus. But unless your mindset is going to go out there and play so quickly, defense is going to win. When you get two teams go out there who are both going to play slowly, both focusing on defense, you just got an awful game of rugby, you know. And you saw that in there were some great games in the World Cup headed by Japan. Japan to me made the World Cup because they just played the game so fast. And the Northern Hemisphere teams, Scotland, Ireland, couldn't live with them. And everyone said, crikey, Japan have just beaten Scotland and Ireland. They beat them because they played so quickly. There's 15 players who were well coached, had the fitness of their lives. And that's what we did in 2003. And it's funny, people look back at 2003 and you see these iconic figures of Delalio and Johnson. They were quick. Martin Johnson for second row was quick. He was an amazing athlete, but he could move the ball. We just play the game so quickly. Just watch the game. I love to get, if you've got some time on your hands, just do analysis about the amount of time the ball's in play in the 2003 team compared to the amount of time the ball's in play now. But more important, the speed it's moving at. So you're not getting 20 phases of slow ball. Big deal. And I just think coaches don't get that. I totally get that. And I think, and I'll say this is going to cause some headlines. I just think you know, if you get more backs coaching the teams, you have a better game of rugby going on, because the backs don't want to play flipping slowly and get smashed up by people. They want to play the quickly and run the ball around. But my view is forwards want to do that as well. Forwards want to play the ball in hand. They want to play quickly.
Definitely.
If you're going to go to rucks and just box kick, you've got a really rubbish game. I won't coach that way. And every team I've coached, from Henley to London Irish to Bath to England under 23s, England, we've all played quickly, we all won. Because if you get the right mindset going and players who want to play quickly, you can win. And, you know, defenses are totally on top at the moment because the opposition just plays so slowly. Yeah. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, that's great.
It's funny how
I think. Sorry. Oh, no, you go, Matt.
Oh, it's funny how you compare to Japan and England 2003 and Japan in the recent World Cup, because they both, I think, had Calvin Morris involved, and they both have that sort of fast-paced sort of fitness element. But yeah, sorry, Freddie, to you.
So I think that's all we've got time for. But just one final thing which we've asked in every podcast is whoever our guest is their favourite moment in their career. You've obviously listed quite a few today, but if you had to pick one which you wouldn't trade for anything, would it be that?
I mean, obviously, the World Cup final is a magic moment, and Johnny's drop goal and all that stuff. But I would definitely say put it this way, the best night of my career was winning in New Zealand in Wellington. That was one of the best celebrations in a good way. I remember going out with not the players. I never went out with the players, but went out with all the coaching team. We went to this pub in Wellington, and the Kiwis were brilliant. They literally stood up and applauded us. And to go to New Zealand to sit in this, and the pub was called the Hummingbird. So just to add some real detail to it, we went to a pub called the Hummingbird, which I've never been there before in my life, but it was in Wellington, and we spent the night there with the Kiwis, with all these New Zealand supporters, fans, and they were just so good. And that was just one night you never ever forget. And just the kind of just talk rugby with those guys, but the respect they showed you for having gone and won in New Zealand, and that was probably if I could relive one night, that would be the one night I'd want to go back to after beating New Zealand. Was fantastic. Obviously, the World Cup final, Johnny's drop goal, that was magic. But in terms of real rugby, to go to New Zealand and win was pretty special.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sir Clive. This has been awesome for us. I think our listeners are going to really love this as well.
Freddie, Matt, great to talk to you, and good luck with all your careers. Now, you've actually left Eton, have you? You've left Eton? Yeah. Okay, well, good luck with whatever you're doing, and you've got my contact details now, so if I can help in any way, just keep in touch and drop me an email.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hopefully, it's all over. We can actually meet up for a beer sometime. That'd be beautiful.
Yeah, we'd love to. Anytime.
All right, mate. Good luck, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Come on! Come on!